One of the top colors for fall 2024 is olive green. So in today's video, I want to tell you how you can wear olive green. This is a complete guide to the color. I'm going to go over a little bit of the history. Like always, I'm going to talk about the emotion behind the color and how it can make us feel. And then I'm going to talk about some color combinations, things you probably have access to within your own closet that you can pair with olive green to work seamlessly into your color palette. So let's get started. Let's start off with a little bit of context for what olive green actually is, like the color itself. So when you think of it, it's pretty intuitive. It's the color we think of when we think of green olives. And it's a very nice, muted, soft green color. It has some yellow in it for sure. It definitely leans a little bit warm, but there's also some blue in there. And you can lighten it up or darken it and have a kind of variations within olive green, as with most colors. And you can definitely find slightly warmer and then slightly cooler versions. And it's also really cool because when I was looking up the history of olive green, I found that it's tied to like giving an olive branch. And so a lot of that symbolism is relating to how we view the color as well. Now, because olive green is green at its core, you can think of a lot of the same associations with the color green. So again, that tranquility and how it feels very calm, but also it's a color that we see very often in nature. And because of that, I think that it's a color that can have a very soothing effect on us because it again has that familiarity. And that's definitely a driving force, I think, when you go to pair this with other colors. And it was definitely something that I leaned into when I came up with these color combinations. Now let's go over some of the easiest colors to pair with olive green. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, olive can be thought of as a neutral, and it's a very easy color to work with. So that's driving a lot of these combinations, and there are truly no right or wrong, as with any color that you want to wear in your wardrobe, but I've isolated some that are really easy. So I wanted to start off with black, because black is a color that so many of us have, and I think that black really anchors the olive green. So if there's something that maybe feels a little bit too rustic about it for you, or it feels a little bit too earthy, you can make it feel really elevated and chic by pairing that with black. And especially if you can, I think it would be so beautiful if you take like an olive green shirt, black pair of pants, and then like a snakeskin belt or something with a really cool buckle. And it's a beautiful way to kind of offset it and bring some of that energy of the black into the tranquility of the green. The next color I want to talk about is what I'm wearing, and that's off-white. And you can think of this as the whole spectrum of white, so pure white all the way to off-white, and kind of moving into like that cream that's almost a tan color. And the reason this works so well is because it shares very similar energy to the olive green. So the olive green has that tranquility and that peace and that calm, and white shares that. White represents peace, and putting them two together is such a great way to kind of feed off of that energy, and I think creates such a beautiful, soft, ethereal color palette. And then what's really great also is if you want to lean into the yellow base of the olive green, going for an off-white like I've done today makes it feel very harmonious. But if you wanted to instead brighten up the olive green, you could go for a pure white, and that contrast is just enough. It still feels within the same family, but the white is obviously a little bit brighter, so it kind of lightens the whole thing up. I think they're so beautiful. Next, as we move up that scale from the off-whites and the beiges, we will move into brown, and I think brown looks so beautiful with olive green. It shares that earthiness of the olive, and it's a color combination that you see very often in nature. And as you know, those are some of my personal favorites. So when you anchor the olive green with that really rich chocolate brown, or you go for something that feels like a really wet bark, it's almost gray, or you go even to like a light brown that's like almost a camel or a tan, they all complement the energy of the olive so perfectly. And you can choose any brown, any variation of brown that you personally love, and it will balance out that olive green perfectly and just create a really beautiful color story. Another color that is incredibly classic, and as a result goes beautifully with the classic feeling of olive green, is the color navy. And especially together, these two feel very English to me. They feel very equestrian, and they feel very heritage based. We see these pop up a lot in brands that kind of lean into that energy within their own branding, and paired together they really enhance kind of the best qualities of each of them. And it's just a beautiful color combination. Because olive green is a little bit softer than some of the richer, deeper greens, going for a navy helps soften that up. And especially if you feel like black and olive green is maybe a little too stark, going for a version of navy is going to soften it all together and make it really accessible. And then of course you can always pair olive green with other shades of green. And I think especially if you go for like a really rich forest green, it kind of leans into that foliage energy and we see these colors paired all the time in nature, and it's one of my personal favorite combinations. All shades of green kind of give me that feeling of tranquility. As a result, they're some of my favorite colors, and pairing them together head to toe is just a beautiful way to play with that tonality while still feeding into that energy but allowing your personal style to come through, because you don't really see them paired together all that often. And when you take variations of the same color worn head to toe, it looks so chic no matter the color you choose. I also wanted to quickly mention how beautiful olive green looks with maroon or burgundy. If you haven't seen my burgundy video, for a little refresher, burgundy and maroon are actually two different colors. So burgundy is going to be a cooler base, and maroon, based in the color brown, is going to be a warmer base. So if you want to lean into the warm feeling of the olive, going for maroon is a really great way to do that. But if you want to offset it a little bit and maybe go for something that feels unexpected and very, very chic, going for burgundy will do that every single time. These are also colors that inherently feel very rich and saturated, so they play beautifully with the saturation of the olive green that's been toned down just a little bit. And then I also really love this as a combination because it's like red and green, but not quite as literal. And anytime you take a color combination and then make it a little bit less obvious, I think it looks effortless and incredibly chic. And then for this last color combination, I actually couldn't find a lot of outfits that showcased it, but I love the way that olive green looks with a pale blue, something like a pale sky color or like a dove blue, and everything in between, like a robin's egg blue would be so beautiful. And I think that's again speaking to the energy of nature, because the blue is all around us all the time with the water and the sky, and olive green is very accessible to us in nature. So pairing them together feels incredibly harmonious. And I also think this is a really beautiful soft color combination. Again, the soft blue has that same kind of ethereal energy and the peace that the olive green has, and they complement each other so beautifully. So I hope that this gave you some ideas for this color. I love it so much, and I'm really glad that it's popular again, because you'll be able to find pieces in this color, and it's a really great way to kind of stay on top of color trends. That way you're not adding a color just because it's popular, but instead adding a color that you really love, and you're able to find it for the first time in a couple years. And I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for a couple pieces myself. And then also, if you're interested in more about color palettes and curating your own color palette, I'm again working on a very special project I'm going to be announcing very soon. So I'm going to put a link in the description box for the sign up in case you're interested. And like always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Have a great day.